Many revelations have hit me after enlightenment. Enlightened people don't argue with the enlightened. Instead, we understand things as the way they are. But there is much to contend with the enlightened. In my journey, I've gotten many revelations. And I put to the test all these things for a deeper truth in my enlightenment. When Buddha went and found Nirvana, he died. In his near-death experience from starvation, he saw heaven and he saw the hell realm. And he saw a creator God. And he spoke to all these beings who are in chains of gold. I am not trying to sow the seed of doubt and give discomfort to other beings. Or Buddhas. I'm trying to give a revelation to the skeptics. Buddha's near-death experience is just that, a near-death experience. We don't know if he actually saw heaven or God or gods. That is not the point. Buddha was called from the deepest levels of compassion to come to earth. The figures of compassion have these identities. But that doesn't mean that compassion embodies an identity. Compassion embodies a God. So compassion told Buddha to come and teach. Compassion told Buddha to come and teach. So he came back to life and found nirvana, emptiness. Everything comes from emptiness and everything goes to emptiness, irregardless of respect of anything else that may or may not exist. Everything comes from emptiness and everything goes to emptiness, irregardless in respect of anything else. That means if this realm is the only realm within the realm, many worlds, if this is the only universe, within the universe, many planets, the answer to suffering is still emptiness. The answer to suffering is still compassion. The answer to suffering is still dying without being dead. What that means is to kill the illusion. The mind that calculates, the mind that believes, the mind that believes in itself. I'll give an example. When you go walk and you think to yourself, I wonder what these people think that I look like. I wonder how these people think that I'm behaving. This is the mind that is the ego, that is the self, that needs to die. It is not that there is not a self beneath that. It is just that we call that not self. The true self beneath that. And beneath that is emptiness. So you'll have a revelation. And you'll have emptiness. And then you'll have your ego die. And your ego call for help. And how it calls for help is it tells you all the things that you've done. It tells you all the things that have been done to you. In NDE circles, this is called a life review. This happens to you when you awaken. You will have a life review. It'll just be more subtle. But it'll nevertheless be meaningful. When this part of you dies, what is left is clarity and emptiness. What this is called in the alchemical circle is Nigredo. Nigredo. This is the miracle of Christ. All the other miracles are like this one in this metaphor. When Christ died and rose again, this is the symbol. He died and he was awakened. That is what that means. The meaning in the miracle. There are many meanings in the Bible. There's a great truth to the Bible. But the Bible is full of myths. And men put the Bible together, just as men put the teachings of the Buddha together. They put the teachings of the Christ together. There are many books that wrote about Christ that were not included. And there are many things that Christ perhaps said that were not written down. For those of you who want to understand the meanings of heaven and hell, even in the Christian context, hell is temporary. Any enlightened one to come out of Christianity knows this. And Christ himself, it was written that Christ said that until every last penny was paid. That is because you can't have discompassion as compassion. You can't be discompassionate after death. Hell is the definition of suffering. Heaven is the definition of compassion. These are not places, these are meanings. But these could also be places. There's far more in this deconstruction. In this deconstruction, there is more. Christ said, I am the way. This relates to the Buddhist teaching, the way. In Greece, 300 BC, Greece adopted Buddhism. A short sect adopted Buddhism. This is where Stoicism came from. So Greece knew very well of Buddhism, well before Rome took over the known world at the time. A lot of Christian teachings could be inspired by Buddhism. So in this revelation, Christ is an enlightened one. And just as many enlightened people have existed, it seems that they don't write about themselves. Other people tend to write about the enlightened. The Buddhists. Again, what I say to you is we come from emptiness and we become emptiness. The core of rebirth is desire. It's the concept of rebirth. The concept of rebirth comes from observation. In this, we have the concept, within this, we have the concept of reincarnation. It is important to note that the concept of rebirth comes from the concept of reincarnation. Reincarnation. This is the observation. People make claims about being reincarnated. Some have injuries at birth. Sometimes the claims line up. This is coincidence in many cases. Even the Buddha said that there's many coincidences. However, genuinely there could be reincarnation. Am I going to offer something of other than wisdom? Am I going to offer evidence? Of course I'm going to offer evidence. What is wisdom without evidence? Other than the testimonies that you can find about reincarnation, you can find the quantum field. And you can find the quantum mind. It turns out that the mind is a quantum computer. Since it's a quantum computer, the quantum information is within the universe. There is more depth to this than we actually know. But from what we do know, which is enough, the quantum information can teleport to another material body and be transferred or reverberated. The reverberated part is the part that's probably most likely. And so somebody has experiences of a past life, even though they don't have a soul. Because quantum information reverberated through time give them past life memories, which is why nobody has a complete past life. They have bits and pieces. These bits and pieces are bits and pieces of information shrouded throughout the universe. And in this case, shrouded throughout the space-time of Earth. Space-time is composed of quantum waves. Quantum waves create space and time. This is a known fact in physicist circles. Quantum waves embody the emptiness. Within the emptiness is infinite potential. Infinite potential gives rise to libertarian free will. Libertarian free will is a concept in philosophy. This concept in philosophy was later debunked by determinism and compatibilism. Of course, this was never a Christian concept, libertarian free will. The whole idea of free will came from a concept within the constraints of cause and effect, determinism and karma. However, within the constraints, within the truth of quantum mechanics, we have libertarian free will. That libertarian free will is within the existence of the universe, or beyond the universe, the emptiness. That is, as emptiness, I have the potential to do anything and everything. I am the choice. I am the emptiness. There is nothing that causes me. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. Somebody ask, what about time perhaps? Time is unrelated to this because the emptiness is beyond the concept of time. The emptiness creates the space and time. So when the emptiness does, within your concept could be eons. Within the emptiness's confines could be instantaneous. Determinism. Determinism is an afterthought in philosophy. Determinism is not fatalism. Determinism says that causes and effects happen, and all effects come from causes. Some would say within the confines of forces. This is the same as karma. Karma is the effect of guilt, sorrow, and other negative emotions from causes and effects. Bad karma is just you feeling bad. You thinking, what's wrong with me? You thinking, what did I do to deserve this? You can release yourself from karma by becoming empty. That is not to say without love. I am full of love. I am full of love and compassion and understanding. Compatibilism. One might ask, in this deterministic universe, how can one even find enlightenment? Wouldn't enlightenment just be chance? Compatibilism, or compatibilistic free will. It has been discovered by Penrose and other physicists that quantum phenomenon in the brain occurs. This quantum phenomenon goes back in time to make a choice. It is also a philosophical cue. For those of you who are realists but don't like quantum mechanic arguments, calling them quantum woo, space-time can be considered the void here, and the universe can be considered bursting out from the Big Bang. And compatibilism can be found in another way. How you can find compatibilism is by considering thought as a force. When thought as a force is realized, then certain causes and effects can be shifted or changed. I'm going to wait for this helicopter to pass for a second while you try to understand what I mean. Thought as a force can shape the future. Imagination is the link to create blueprints. You can imagine many worlds within your brain and how to do things, and feed back yourself whether those things are good or bad to do. And that doesn't necessarily mean morally good or morally bad. When you understand this, planning becomes essential. Walking through life mindfully becomes essential. Because it means that you can control your steps. Feel your steps when you walk. This is part of the Eightfold Noble Path. Feel your steps when you walk. Breathe deeply. Don't worry. Don't begin to worry. Become compassion. For those of you looking for objective morality, or those of you who can't seem to find it anywhere in the world, I don't blame you. This is a difficult thing to find. Within the Four Noble Truths, we can actually find objective morality within the Second Noble Truth, if we just dig down deep enough. We can also create a philosophy of objective morality with the concept of consent, and that relates to this objective morality that I'm going to bring. I described it, I did it through a deconstruction. This deconstruction is of the Second Noble Truth, desire, thirst. One might ask, why does somebody desire something? Because of the long causal chains of reality. Well, we have to start with one or two or three desires. But this can go on and on and on and on, so we'll just try and make it with one desire to simplify it. And many desires can follow this path, this chain, into more noble desires until it finally finds a root. If you look at why somebody wants to be famous, for instance, somebody desires to be famous. We make a flow chart. Let's do a simple one, but this flow chart can get huge, but it'll go down to the bottom. One reason why somebody would want to get famous is to be heard. One reason could be to be wise. One reason could be to be loved. Take these three. These three desires are more nobler than the last. But the last desire actually comes from these three. So the least noble desire comes from three noble desires. Of these three noble desires, to be loved, or to be heard, or to gain wisdom, come compassion. All desires are just twisted distortions of compassion or discompassion. When somebody rejects compassion. So we can find objective reality in this compassion. Some would say that this is too simple. This compassion within the universe. I'll give an example with consent. Consent is objective. When one offers a consent, it's objective. How they offer the consent is subjective. And when one denies them consent, they are being discompassionate. And when one grants their consent, they are being compassionate. This is the difference between sex and rape. This is the difference between assisted suicide and murder. In some cases, assisted suicide could be very compassionate, but there could be another compassionate thing to do instead. And that's to make them wake up and realize something else. For instance, when a doctor pulls a plug, he's being compassionate. The person is suffering, they don't want to live no more. And so from this stems all kinds of objective truths about reality with objective morals. The violation of consent or the support of consent is objective. My basis for consent was inspired by UPB. I don't want anybody to not know that, but a grounding of consent. The grounding of consent was inspired in Buddhism. I grounded my consent with compassion, or the objective consent with compassion. And so it's clear with this deconstruction that we have objective morality on the basis of compassion. And compassion is not subjective. There's no way to subjectively be discompassionate because of what it entails. There's no way to subjectively act compassionate. With this grounding, we can connect compassionate to emptiness. If all roads come from compassion or discompassion, then compassion comes from emptiness, just as all other things eventually do. Compassion is one of the vital things that come out of emptiness. And the rejection of compassion, which comes from compassion, the discompassion, the wall, that may keep you in suffering. The mirror, but not the mirror, the shadow of compassion. The inverse, the negative with the positive. In this way, we grounded the universe in love, and we grounded the universe in its emptiness. And we understand the light. The universe is made of light. All the atoms are made of light, just different forms of light. This light comes from the emptiness, the source. And so when we say the universe is trying to experience itself, we truly mean it. It is experience. It is experience. Not object or subject, but experience that envelops the world. Experience brings forth conscientiousness and consciousness. This is where panpsychism comes from. Panpsychism says that consciousness is attracted to living things. This helps explain lots of problems in consciousness and understanding the root of consciousness. Some people are afraid when confronting panpsychism. They worry if it means God. It doesn't necessarily mean God. But let's say if there was a God. It wouldn't eliminate the source of everything, and in this case, which is emptiness. It would just say, or make a claim to say, that the identity of emptiness would be God. And so, we can put to bed faith and understand what we truly are. We don't know many things, but we can know what we truly are with tested experience. We can know what we truly are. And this is what it means to be enlightened. To know what you truly are. To be wise and to be compassionate. Listen to my words. Have I said anything outside of logic? Have I said anything on the basis of faith? Have I said anything to be disingenuous? Have I tried to be as truthful and clear as I possibly can and be compassionate about those of faith and compassionate about those without? I am compassionate for all of you. This is the essence of the universe. To be everything in emptiness. And from everything comes compassion. And from everything comes love. Because all other things are futile. So don't worry when you die. Don't suffer in death. Don't believe your bliss. And don't believe your lying mind. Be a refuge unto yourselves. If you can't, be a refuge unto me. I will not forsake Buddhism. I will not forsake Buddhism. And I understand the meanings of Scripture. I understand it was written by men who wrote the delusions, who wrote their archetypes, who wrote from the mind. And I understand where they wrote from the heart. And I understand where they wrote from what they saw. When you sum up all the delusions, there is a truth behind it. It is not true, but there is a truth behind them. And that is what I came to reveal. I did not come from emptiness, thinking in my birth to reveal. I don't want to be misunderstood. I came to reveal this in this video. Tonight, contemplating truth. I don't desire fame. I don't desire wealth. Yet I may have those things. I desire truth. If there's a branch to spring forth, call it Trudeism. Combine it with philosophy and compassion. There are other things and great truths to come. But this is my enlightenment, and this is what I wanted to say. I've said this once before, but not in this video, not publicly. My heresy or my blasphemy is neither heresy or blasphemy. It is sympathy, symphony, and summaries. For truth. It is summaries of the religions. It is summaries of the faiths. It is summaries of the ultimate philosophies. If you believe me to be a heretic, test my words, test my heart, test my enlightenment. I love you. May you be enlightened. May you become a Buddha. And be happy with this life that you are living. Live happily, live compassionate. Destroy the fetter of suffering. Have a good evening, day or morning, depending on where you are in the world.